a more serious note, oh my goodness, how do we shift from that to this? Israel.
Oh God.
Mm.
They, yo, just saying that name and
Oh.
whew, everything that's
They
going
bring
on in
on
the
too
world right
much.
now.
Uh-huh.
Israel hacked traffic cameras to track Iran's supreme leader. I'm about to jack his name up. Atala Kamali, I think. Kamali?
The Ayatollah, just he was the Ayatollah, the supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali.
Ayatollah. There we
Yeah.
go. Ayatollah. Um, who was killed in broad daylight. And how Israel did this, they hacked into the cameras and tracked pretty much his every move. They tracked who drives him to his whereabouts, who protects him, found their pattern of life, created a network analysis, factoring all the routes they take to and from to pretty much assassinate this man. And he refused to hide. He lived his life regularly. He was going to a meeting and he said, "No bunkers. I'm not going to go into hiding." And he was killed. And yeah, it's just crazy how technology. And I was looking at the video that you sent to us, and it's just crazy how you can track down somebody's everything. And I started thinking about my life. Maybe I should change up my routes. Like, this is crazy. Just by traffic cameras, you could know the exact time and location somebody's going to be at. Wow.
It's real. It's deep.
Yeah. I'm driving the other way home today.
It's deep. It's deep.
And who did they use to kill him? Who did what country did they use?
Mm.
Well,
Didn't
the
Iran.
intelligence, the
No, I'm
intelligence.
saying like
Go ahead,
go
TT.
Go
ahead.
ahead, TT. Go ahead.
No, I want you to say what you're gonna say because I just wanna get a clear
Clarify.
understanding.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
the so the intelligence is Israel's intelligence. So
Mm-hmm.
Israel utilized the
Ah.
technology as DJ Chinny mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
but also I want y'all to understand when Cousin Jimmy spits game, America, the algorithm, the viewers out there, y'all ain't gonna show Cousin Jimmy no love, no respect. We have been talking about infiltrators for how many episodes now?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The strategy of war. Before this Iran thing, we've been talking about infiltrators. They use technology and they also had an infiltrator. That's the art of war. They had someone that
Mm-hmm.
was already inside surveying. That's a part right in Iran, watching all the moves, watching
Mm-hmm.
everything happen, being a part of the meetings, shaking hands with the same people, and they don't even know that this person's from the opposition side. And so technology and surveillance from Israel is what allowed this to happen. Of course, when you have the support of the United States and how
Mm-hmm.
we operate in terms of an air
That's
force.
where I was trying to get United States out of somebody's mouth. And you said
All right,
it.
go ahead,
And they
TT.
used who? They used us. Like I feel like he's a puppet. You're just a puppet. You used and abused our military. You're just a puppet. I
Crazy.
don't like it. You're supposed to be this hardcore man. You make the rules. You say what it is. But I feel like they're using you as a puppet. Our own military, these men, they do not want to go to war. They don't want nothing to do with what they have going on. Because they've been beefing since beef became beef. But
Mm-hmm.
it gets to a point for citizens of the United States. Like you don't really care about us. You care about your relationship with other countries, and that's what it boils down to. I didn't like it at all, and I also didn't like the fact that a U.S. Marine Corps, I think he's retired or something like that, how he got his arm broke for speaking up for this. Like it gets to a point. It's very bad. It's very bad for us, I feel like, because of what he's doing. But yes, United States military. That's who he used. So
Yep.
bad.
Yeah, I mean, I listen. first, no one wants war. Our prayers go to the families on both sides. The families that are losing innocent people, because there's people obviously in Iran who are losing their lives. There are people, Americans, who are losing their lives. There's Israelis who are losing their lives. There's people in the surrounding Middle Eastern countries that are losing. Kuwait, Qatar, UAB, Saudi Arabia, that whole thing there. There's a lot
the whole
of
Middle
people
East,
out there, right, that are losing their lives. So our hearts go to the innocent ones. Our hearts go to the soldiers out there. From both sides, we have to understand the game is the art of war, and you're going to always have this going on. No one's going to give us credit. The algorithm's not going to show love. Cousin Jimmy doesn't know what he's talking about. We have been talking about this for a while now here on this show in terms of the reasonings behind this. There's a religion element to it. If you are a Christian and you read the Bible has two parts to it. It has an Old Testament and it has a New Testament. The Old Testament is the Torah, which is what the Israels, what the Jews follow. Okay? Now, obviously, the New Testament is when Jesus comes in, and that's where the Christians, right? But the whole thing comes together for Christians because the laws and the foundation was established that allowed Jesus and Jesus to take over, to segue into his story and to elevate him as the Holy One. Now, you talk about that. I say that because you have to go back to the foundation, which is the Old Testament. If you look at the book of Deuteronomy, and once you get into the earlier stages of the Old Testament, it really is laying the foundation. This is when Moses is laying the foundation. He's telling the Israelites basically how to operate, as it's time for them to cross the Jordan and go to the land of the milk and honey. The milk and honey, flowing with milk and honey. He's describing to them this land. Well, this land that's on the other side, this land that's on the other side of the Jordan is what we see present day Palestine, Israel, Palestine, Jerusalem. This is that land on that side. But on the other side of it is Jordan. And Jordan is the Islam side of it. Now, why this is so critical, because in Deuteronomy and prior to Deuteronomy, when you get into Leviticus and Numbers, all of that was him breaking Moses and them after leaving Egypt are now trying to establish the principles and foundation for the Israelites as they move forward into this land that God promised them. But during this time when they were out in the desert, the Israelites were disobeying God. They were rebelling against God. So God had to punish a lot of the Israelites. Aaron had to die on the mountain because the Israelites were rebelling against him and Moses. And even Aaron and Moses' sister went against Moses as well too, questioning him. Like, man, we're out here, we're thirsty, we're hungry, but God came through so many times for the Israelites, gave them water, gave them manna to eat, all of that to help them survive through the desert after they rebelled against God several times. So God had to kill a lot of the Israelites to show and prove to them his power and will. So he told Moses, he said, Moses, this land that I promised you all, you're not going to go in it because the Israelites rebelled against it. However, you have to pass some of your authority down to Joshua. This is where Joshua comes in. But Moses, your responsibility, you can go on a mountain, you can see this land and all of that, but your responsibility is to lay the foundation for the Israelites. So what he does in Deuteronomy, he repeats and breaks down all the laws from God's 10 commandments to how they should conduct themselves, how they should only praise God and no other gods. And the most important thing, one of the most important things he mentioned there is when they go into that land to not be fearful in whoever they come against. God is going to make sure that they win, but they must destroy everyone. Everyone. Children, women, the whole 9 yards. This is in the Old Testament. God telling the Israelites that when you go to war with whomever, you destroy everything. And so these are the laws that the people that we see in Israel, they're following the laws of the Old Testament. They're following the laws of the Old Testament. And now when you introduced the economic side of it, let's fast forward to nowadays, where obviously there's a huge economic piece in this when we talk about power, control, money, oil, resources, technology, the whole 9 yards. You intertwine that, and then you use a religion theology behind it. You're going to always be in conflict with the opposition that you've always been in conflict from the start. And so the United States' interest in this is A, Israel's an ally of ours. B, Iran. If you understand the history between us and Iran, we used to be great friends with them until 1979. And in 1979, when the Republic of Islam, that's why Iran, if you see beside their name, the country's name is going to say the Republic of Islam. Because Iran had a takeover. The Ayatollah, which is the supreme leader, these are Shia Muslims. You have Sunni and you have Shia. The difference is between the two basically is that when Muhammad passed away, one side says it was handed down to this person, the other side said it was handed down to this person, and so they're divided. That's a whole nother story for another day. And there's Muslims out there that know the story way better than me, but the point is that's what it was. But Iran is a Shiite Muslim, which is the minority group out of the Muslim denominations. There's two denominations, Sunni and Shiite. Iran is Shiite, the smallest denomination. And so the Ayatollah, which is the supreme leader, is the supreme religion leader in Iran. See, Iran is a country different from us. They put religion, it doesn't mean they're perfect, but they put religion above politics, above money, above status. It's a religion thing. But there's a lot of money at play as well, too. So anyway, fast forward. The point I'm trying to make here by breaking all of that down is I want to get deep like that because A, there's a religion tied to this that we have to understand is a strong component for both sides. Iran and a lot of the Muslim countries out there have a strong religion foundation around their country, and Israel follows those principles as well too. But then you have the economic around it as well too. And in 1979, when the Ayatollah and the Republic of Iran, they did a coup and they took over the puppet president or king at that time of Iran, who went into asylum. I think he went into asylum. I think it was Qatar. It was one of those Middle Eastern countries where he went into asylum, and the United States protected him. He was a puppet guy. The British and the United States kind of put him in place to do their bidding sort of thing, and so he got overthrown. The Ayatollah, this new Republic of Islam, comes in and takes over Iran, and that's where you have the Ayatollah, the supreme leader, and all that comes in. Well, what happened is that Iran didn't take over the U.S. embassy, and they held U.S. citizens hostage, hundreds of them. And so there was a conflict and a beef with the United States from that point on when they held U.S. citizens hostage. And so there's a history that, there's a lot of get back. Remember, we talked about this before. Iran are the ones who came out and said that they're the ones that put the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And there is a guy that got arrested in New York saying that he was sent here, and paid by Iran to assassinate U.S. politicians and President Donald Trump. So you have some of that going on. So there's a lot of different things that play that are very powerful as to why we see what's happening here. But at the end of the day, these are things that's always been going on. It's about power and control. There's central banks involved now. There's the beef between digital currency because you have Iran, Russia, China, and a lot more countries who've developed and came together what's called BRICS. And BRICS is basically this group of countries who have come together to utilize digital currency as a form of trade and not use the US dollar anymore. Every oil that gets passed through the United States, all oil distributed throughout this world from every country is paid for in US dollars. Doesn't matter where it's going. When you have BRICS come in to say, hey, we're going to actually form together as a group, trade amongst each other, and use digital currency, that takes away the US dollar, because over 25% of the oil that's being distributed out of Iran, majority of the oil, being distributed out of Iran is going to China and going to Russia. And so if they're not using the US dollar, that lowers the value of that control. And so the banks are controlled by a lot of the Israels. So the money is being devalued, power is being devalued. So there's a lot of different, it's so deep, it's deeper than what we see on the surface. It's deep. And unfortunately, we have innocent people, we have soldiers on all sides who are just, a lot of them, want to represent their country, but want to do the right thing. A lot of them are just trying to get away from where they're from, because they come probably from nothing. And, they're being used as pawns, and it's unfortunate.
Wow, that was a lot, Cousin Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for
history lesson.
For the history, right?
Very deep. Very deep. It gets deep, y'all. It gets deep.
For real.